The Corazón Story, 4 decades in review. Corazón builds its early beginnings, the 1970s. Corazón first began in 1972 when the late Jenny Castillon would travel to Tijuana to meet the needs of the poorest people within her reach. During her trips to Tijuana, she met 2 men from Orange County, Mike Eckholds and Mark Vanny, who were doing similar work. Together, they founded Corazón in 1978 as a nonprofit, non-denominational organization. Corazón's activities at this time were focused on meeting the immediate needs of low-income Mexican families. In its first year, Corazón mainly repaired very basic shelters. But in 1979, Corazón developed its first one-day house build. This was a one-room plywood house on a raised wooden floor. The one-bedroom homes cost roughly $600 to build. They just wanted to help and make a difference. Corazón builds homes, the 1980s. In 1983, Corazón embarked on a significant redesign of the Corazón house. The idea of a sponsored house build was also developed, with a group providing both the funds and volunteers for the one-day project. The new house was 12 feet by 20 feet, with telephone pole foundation piers, painted wood siding, and vinyl floor covering. Corazón also continued taking donated items to Mexico to distribute to the poor, and developed a medical clinic with recurring visits from a volunteer doctor. Construction became a foundational element. Corazón builds success, the 1990s. With the growth and success of Corazón, there was a need for increased organizational structures. Volunteer leaders were trained in various parts of the organization's management, and capital equipment was purchased. Corazón leased its first full-time office and warehouse space for the growing program. The last significant change for Corazón's house build model was in the mid-1990s, when the raised wood floor assembly was replaced with a concrete slab. First used for super builds, the new design eventually became Corazón's standard house product. The growth of the new Familia Corazón organization in Mexico enabled the local participants to begin pouring these slabs, and the cost savings enabled the size of the house to increase from 240 square feet to 320 square feet. This change also decreased the technical difficulty of the construction, making for shorter, less intense Saturdays in Mexico. 2 decades of maturity, growth, and learning. Corazón builds progress, the 2000s. Corazón's most significant philosophical development took place at the turn of the century. While an all-volunteer organization was able to manage the construction program adequately, the growing social development programs required much more management and administration. The decision was made to add paid staff to the organization. John Torrance was hired as the first paid executive director, and Carolyn Ramsey as the first Mexican director. Under their leadership, community centers and community warehouses were opened in 5 communities. Later, 2 additional communities were added to the program. Corazón expanded its office and warehouse space in Laguna Hills and added a full-time office manager. A new Mexican office was opened in Tijuana to house an increasing Mexican staff, running local aspects of the program, which was renamed Comunidad Corazón. The Corazón Scholarship Program began in 2002, reimbursing parents for school expenses for their children. Corazón reached a record annual number of 78 house builds in 2006. The economic downturn beginning in 2008, combined with reports of violence in Mexico, led to some lean years for Corazón, with reduced expenses. The people inside the homes are more important than the physical structures. Corazón builds a future, 2010 and beyond. In 2010, Corazón's current nonprofit in Mexico was established, and Corazón continued to build community across borders and touch the lives of thousands of families and volunteers. This fruitful season has seen annual increases in revenue, house builds, participants, and community projects. Our staff team has grown, a new technologically innovative community center was opened, septic tanks were introduced, and work will soon begin in a new community on the east side of Tijuana. In 2017, through a global grant with Rotary International, hundreds of community leaders were trained as facilitators, entrepreneurs, tutors, and peace builders. The tutoring program has blossomed and young scholars are supported. Training is provided for community tutors so they can deliver a quality after-school program which helps keep kids in school. One of the most outstanding growth pieces is seen in the scholarship program. In 2013, Corazón provided 178 scholarships to deserving youth and 440 scholarships in 2017. Corazón, founded in 1978, celebrates 40 years of building community across borders. Let's build something life-changing.